Hi, everybody. You're listening to WXED 107.3. This is DJ Nikki in the studio with Jonathan Cortez from ElwoodCity.org for the weekly news wrap-up. Jonathan, you have a guest today.
Yes, indeed. We have Council President Connie McDonald with us today.
Nice to have you here, Connie.
Nice to be here.
So, Jonathan, you actually started your guest last week.
2 weeks ago. Mayor Court was here 2 weeks ago. We talked about the trial.
That's right. I thought that was the week before.
No. Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to slide my microphone out the way. I'm going to give the show to you so you can interview Connie.
Okay, thank you.
All righty.
People may be listening who don't know, how long have you been on council?
Well, I've been on council. This is my third year this time, but 40 years ago, I served a 4-year term on council.
Oh, that's interesting. I did not know that. And you got elected president this year. So did you seek the council presidency, or is that kind of how it happened?
I didn't really seek it, but there was some talk, and I did say that, yes, I would accept it, and got the vote, so here I am.
Okay, so as council president, do you have any goals or directions of council that you're pursuing?
Yes, I think the main thing is we're trying to work together for the betterment of Elwood City. I think every member of council, their main focus is betterment of the community, and it's my job as president to try to get them together so that we can focus on some main issues and get those taken care of.
Okay. Yeah, and it's been my personal observation that council meetings, that you do run them pretty efficiently, and you also introduced visitor comments at the end of the meeting, which was, Dave McQuaid was who I heard recommend it, but that was implemented.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea for the public to be able to comment both at the beginning and at the end. It's good for us to hear their comments as to what they feel about the things that we talk about that evening.
Okay, and then there's a couple other observations I've made. Like a lot of times, when you're not afraid to vote in the minority when you think that's the right thing to do. You've also brought up several issues that I feel like could have been overlooked, and that you're very down to business, getting the task at hand done.
Yeah, I think it's important that we don't waste time, that we try to focus on the issues. Sometimes we get carried away with personal things that really don't apply to the community as a whole, and we should really not talk about them and really focus on the issues, and I try to do that.
Okay, so you told me that you had a couple topics that you wanted to discuss about what council and the borough is working on.
Yes, there are some really positive things we are working on for some time, but I think the thing that we really need to focus on, and most important right now, is the situation with the Elwood City Hospital. As we know, the hospital is experiencing a lot of difficulties with reimbursements and trying to compete with other health care facilities that can offer more services than we can. Look, we have over 400 people employed there. It has a major impact on the community. I believe Elwood City residents alone get $2.8 million in wages, so that certainly helps our community. The hospital's payroll is much more than that, but we need to see what we can do to make sure that the hospital stays. And council has met with the hospital administrator, and we are working to see how that we can help them, some with their electric bill and some with other issues that we might be able to assist them. But the issues that I'm really interested in are some of the things that we're doing. One thing is we're applying for a state grant for $536,000 for renovations to both Ewing Park and Stiefel Park. The Ewing Park renovations include taking care of some of the drainage problems around the main part of the park and making many of the shelters more handicapped accessible. One of the complaints that I've had is the big drop off, 8 to 10 inch drop off when you walk out of the shelter. And so we're going to correct that with the grant. In addition, we're going to put up some walkways throughout the park so that not only you can walk safely, but you can have your wheelchair go through that area much safer and much quicker. We're also exploring the possibility of building a new public works facility. Our borough garage was built in the 50s, late 40s, 50s, I'm not really sure when, but it's not equipped to handle the equipment that we have today. We can't store all of our equipment inside it. In addition, it's not energy efficient. It still has the single pane windows that they put in 60 to 70 years ago. Not very good for keeping the heat inside. Yeah, the trucks and equipment we have today are much larger than we had 60 to 70 years ago. We have a big sewer vector that is larger than anything we've had for years. And so we need to be able to keep those things inside. And also we need to have a facility to work on the vehicles. And with the garage we have now, we're not able to maneuver all of the equipment in an efficient manner when we want to work on them.
Okay, so I'm going to ask a few questions about each of those. So we'll go back to the hospital. You said, what were some of the things that council is working with the hospital?
Well, one of the things that we're working with is as you know, the borough supplies electricity, and sometimes our electricity costs are not really competitive with other entities that offer electric rates. But since the hospital and almost every other facility in the borough under the state law has to buy power from the borough, we're looking at ways that we might be able to assist in keeping the rates more reasonable. We're having our engineers come in this week. We're going to discuss with them not only the hospital situation, but also our general cost of electricity, which it appears to be a little bit high, and we're going to try to see what we can do to reduce that a little bit.
Okay. That clarified a few things. And with the parks, so I've been putting the word out on elwoodcity.org about the park grants, and a few of the comments we've gotten back are about the cost for some of the things. Like, I believe, each shelter was about $20,000 for each one. And so, even though half of it is with a grant, people are concerned about the half that the borough is paying. So my first question is, are those costs including the labor cost?
Yes, they are. Most of the work will be done by contractors, so we'll be bidding the project out. The borough is contributing $25,000 in-kind services, so our employees will be doing some of the work, but most of the work will be done by outside contractors.
Yeah, and I'd probably have to obtain a breakdown of what all of the costs were for, but for say the shelter, so we're going to make it handicap accessible. What else are we doing with shelters?
Well, many of the shelters don't have gutters and downspouts, so I believe that's some of the work. Some of the shelters need new shingles, so that would be taken care of. Some of them need new electrical service. That's included in it. In addition, there's going to be a splash pool put in at the swimming pool, which is a much needed asset in that area.
And up at Stiefel, I know you said that you definitely wanted to look at Stiefel. I think you said, might not be the exact word, but you said it's a disgrace or something similar to that.
Yes, I have been complaining about Stiefel for some time. We are trying to start somewhere, and the first thing that we're going to do is there's a major problem I believe in right field of the men's softball field where it's underwater, and so we will be addressing that through getting drainage in there to move that water away. At the same time, the Little Angels has put a lot of money into their field and keeping it up, and so part of this grant is to pave their parking area to get water away from the field and to make it more attractive in that area.
But Stiefel will end up being more of a long-term project that will be returned to at a later point.
Yes, there was a master plan prepared with the county, and this is a start to that master plan, but there are many other things that we need to do up there, and gradually, with additional grants, we'll be able to do them.
Do you feel that the expenditure on the parks will come back into Elwood?
In fact, if at the council meeting this week, we approved the Angelman Syndrome Walk. This Angelman Syndrome Walk is a foundation, and they're actually moving their walk from North Park in Pittsburgh, where they've had it for 11 years, to Ewing Park. They get 250 to 300 walkers. So there'll be people coming to Elwood City who probably have never been here just to use our park, to walk around and to use our shelters. I think this is just the start of our park is not only an Elwood City facility, but it represents the whole area. People come from all over to use not only the park and the pool, but family reunions. Many people come to Elwood, and I think it will continue to bring people. The improvements will only help that.
Okay. And my last question with the parks is the part that we're paying, what fund is that coming from?
The borough has received over the years money from the Marcellus Shale tax. It's not unit tax, but it's money that the state collects and distributes to municipalities. And we have the money in that fund right now to meet our match. And that money will be used for that. And that money's generally only supposed to be used for recreation.
Well, just let me interject here for a second. I think that what Jonathan was trying to say is he's trying to express that some of the opinions of the community expressed on elwoodcity.org were that they're going to some way have to pay for the borough's commitment to these parks, which I think what they're not understanding is that the money is already there. And I think that, residents probably look at this and go, $20,000 a shelter seems a bit inflated, why wouldn't it cost $10,000 a shelter? And so I think that they don't understand that these are just estimates and that they're not going to have a raise in the taxes right now for that because the money is already there for this commitment.
And the other thing is, we're working with estimates right now. When we bid it out, you don't know exactly what the bids are going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're relying on the consultants to come up with those numbers.
Okay, and the last thing was the public works. So where will this money come from?
We will be getting a bond issue, and we raised taxes the last 2 years for a variety of things, but I believe that we will be able to fund the bond issue with our existing tax structure if we don't take any more hits. And one of the things that has happened between 2014 and 2015, we have a tax called the local services tax, which is $1 a week that comes out of your paycheck. It comes out of the paycheck of every person who works in Elwood City. In 2014, we collected $150,000 for that. In 2015, we collected $120,000, a 20% decrease in local services tax. I believe it's directly related to the loss of Heraeus and the employees at Heraeus, the loss of Sabre Industries and their employees, and the cutbacks at ESB Bank. As long as we don't take any more hits like that, we should be able to, with our current tax structure, should be able to finance a bond issue.
So when you talk about taking a hit, if we lose all the employees from the hospital, then that tax budget is in trouble.
Yes, when you're talking 460 employees, it would be, I believe that, and we do have some exact numbers, I believe it's in the neighborhood of $18,000 that the hospital employees pay into that local services tax.
Wow. Yeah, did you have other topics that you were going to discuss?
Well, yeah, I'd really like to be positive. I think the borough needs to be positive. Although we've experienced some difficult times, there are many improvements that will happen in the near future. Those are some of them. The other positives is our street paving. In the last couple of years, we've put a lot of money into our street paving. Last year, we spearheaded utilizing utilities working with us, so that they didn't pave half a street and the other half went unpaved. We jointly got the water company to agree to go along with us and pave the whole street, and they paid for their share. We were able to pave a lot more streets. This year we're expecting to put about $400,000 into our streets, and we're having a little problem right now because Columbia Gas is telling us that some of the streets that the water company has done this year, they're not going to do till next year. So we really don't want to pave the street, only to have it torn up next year by Columbia Gas. So we're in a little dilemma trying to get the exact projects that Columbia Gas is going to do. We certainly don't want to discourage. It's important that the gas company replace their lines as quickly as possible for safety reasons. But we're trying to coordinate between the companies, and we're having a little difficulty with that. But we still will be paving a lot of streets in town, and we'll be probably going out for bid here in probably at the next council meeting. Oh, the other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit was Code Red. Code Red is a system that will provide notification to residents in the event of an emergency. As a result of the fire at Ametco, we decided that it was necessary for us to have some type of system that we can notify our people immediately of what's going on, if they need to evacuate or if they need to stay in place, or provide them information not only for emergencies such as fires and weather conditions, but whenever there's an electrical outage. Since we own the electric company, we need to be able to notify our residents that there's an electrical outage, maybe in a specific area, provide them with information on how long we expect it to be out, when it might come on, and give them a reason for their power to be out. We're very fortunate with our own electric company. We provide very good service. Our outages do not last generally more than 2 hours, and mainly a lot of times less than a half an hour. On other systems outside of the borough, you may be waiting a lot longer to get your power back on. That's one advantage to have a municipally owned electric system.
I've been putting out the word on Code Red. Hopefully everyone in the Elwood area is hearing about it and will sign up if they're interested. The last topic I'd like to discuss is what are council's plans for the downtown area?
The downtown area we have been working for since I've been on council 2 years, with a company called Town Associates to do some changing to our downtown area with regard to zoning. We have sent that zoning proposal to the Lawrence County Planning Commission, and they have sent it back and said it's fine. It's now with the Elwood City Planning Commission, and we're waiting for their recommendations. We expect to be having a public hearing on that probably in the next couple months, and hopefully once we hear from the public, we hope to make some changes to our zoning to sectionalize the central business district. Has been running from 14th Street to 4th Street. It's just too big an area to be in what should be our central business district. And we're also going to put some zoning changes in that central business district, which will be from 4th Street to 8th Street, generally on Lawrence Avenue, so that we can regulate a little better what's in those areas. We'll be encouraging small businesses to try to move into this area on the first floor so that we can fill some of the storerooms and make our downtown look a little bit better.
I'm not that informed about what zoning means, so...
Okay. I do have a little experience because many years ago, in addition to being fire chief, I was the zoning officer. So zoning is regulation of property so that it blends in with the master plan or the comprehensive plan of the community. You want to keep, for instance, you want to try to centralize businesses in a certain area as opposed to having businesses all over town. You want to try to keep the same type businesses in the general area so that people can go there and find what they're looking for. We also have some parking concerns to be worried about. How much parking do we have downtown? Do we have sufficient parking? As of right now, our consultants tell us that we do have sufficient parking. You might have to walk a block, but there generally you're able to find parking spot most of the time. We've also had some discussion about parking meters. Some people don't want parking meters, but we find that parking meters keep people from parking in a particular location for several hours, and so that parking spot is open. If somebody's looking for a spot next to where they want to go, they have a chance to get there.
Yeah, it seems like our parking meters pretty much follow the general rule. They're active during the workday, evenings, weekends, they're not. I mean, pretty much everywhere I've been, that's the way it is.
I just have a really quick question. The businesses located outside of the 4th to 8th area, because of the new zoning laws, will they be forced to move within that area?
No one will be forced to move anywhere. All the existing businesses will continue to operate just as they've operated. We are just encouraging more businesses, smaller businesses, to move in the downtown area to encourage more traffic downtown.
So if you zone 4th to 8th to be a business district, what about the residents? Will the current residents living between those blocks be forced to move out?
On the first floor, probably yes, but that doesn't preclude people from going to the second floor. We will be encouraging businesses on the first floor. Oh, another thing I might want to mention is our main power connection is a consortium of municipal utilities called AMP, which stands for American Municipal Power. It's made up of 128 municipalities in about 9 states that own the electric distribution systems just like we do. And we're in the process of exploring a solar operation with them. Right now, this year, they hope to have 6 solar sites operational, and they're proposing 20 more in 2017. And we're going to try to get in the next phase to try to put some solar in that we can connect to our system to provide low-cost power to help us with our cost of purchase power. And we're exploring areas for that to go in. We have a number of sites that we're looking at. We don't really know what size they need, but hopefully we're going to meet with somebody from them within the next month, too, to discuss that issue.
Okay. Well, all of these things I've definitely learned a lot about. I mean, I'm not too into a lot of financial things, so it was enlightening for me, and hopefully the audience will learn a lot.
Somebody might say, well, what's the fire chief know about finances? Well, actually, my degree is in accounting, and I worked for the Public Utility Commission for 20 years, over 20 years, doing auditing of electric, gas, and water utility companies. So I do have a little knowledge of the operations of utility companies.
I see. Definitely impressed me. It's good to talk about all of these positive things that we're working on in Elwood, but at the same time to ask at least some questions in depth about where the money's coming from and things like that for our readers and the people of Elwood so that they know.
Well, I hope I've answered your questions, and I'm available. I eat lunch 4 days a week in an Elwood City restaurant, and I can be approached almost any time. If somebody has a question, I get stopped almost anywhere, and I'm willing to answer questions and explain my position on the issues.
Yeah, every time I've contacted you to see why you voted a certain way or to ask a question about something, you've been very quick to respond and gave me a pretty complete explanation.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, yep, thank you, and that's a wrap.
Once again, like he said, that's a wrap. You're listening to the news wrap-up here on WXED 107.3. Jonathan Cortez from ElwoodCity.org with his guest, Connie McDonald. Thanks so much for being here, and I'm excited to see who you have next as a guest on your show.